could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here as we continue on the playoffs for the 5th season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. This is race 28, playoff race number 2. It's the midway race of the first round of the postseason, and so far, with one playoff race under our belts, we know that everybody at this point in time still has to point their way into the Elite 8. Last week, Jacob Thibodeau, non-playoff contender, taking the checkered flag at Richmond, and so nobody has that golden ticket as of yet, locking them into the next round of the playoffs. But here today, you'll notice that last week, during the post-race, we announced that we were going to be going road course racing at the Charlotte Roval. Only half of that statement was correct. We are going road course racing, but it's going to be the debut of Road America on the Duracell Cup Series schedule. So we will see what this track, a little over 4 miles in length, 14 very dangerous corners, how it's going to play its part into the outcome of not only today's race, but also the playoffs heading into our first elimination race. Now, a quick explanation for those that might be wondering why we did not go to Charlotte Roval this weekend when we've been there every year for the last 4 seasons. Unfortunately, it was looking like we just really couldn't get a good Charlotte Roval race this year. A lot of testing went in at both the beta version of the Charlotte Roval and the updated version, and just seemed like there were too many areas where we were going to have, well, to kind of put it bluntly, stupid wrecks that shouldn't even be taking place. So to kind of take away all that possibility, especially with it being a playoff race, you don't want to have something crucial take place that's going to basically take someone out of playoff contention when it could have been avoided. Well, it could have been avoided, which is why we're going to be changing the venue here today, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see this track back on the schedule in upcoming Season 6. But let's now flash up on your screen what the playoff points look like after Richmond last week. Some teams did well, other teams did not. Teams right now that are sitting pretty with some pretty good points, the 95 team, the 78 team, the 77 team, and the 19 team, all right up there at this current point in time. Of course, the 78 team still up there because they had all those bonus points from their 3 victories and winning the regular season championship, but they didn't exactly have the best of runs last week. Teams that we're going to be keeping an eye on during the course of this race from pretty much 6th place on down. It's really, really close around that cut line. You've got the 31 team and the 09 team. Right now, they sit 12 points each above the cut line. Cutoff line driver here today going to be Jesse Turner in that 47. And then just below the cut line, you've got Matt Haas in the 8 and Nick Gunther in the 55. But you can see it's only 1 and 2 points respectively out of that 8th position. And there's still one race to go after today of who's going to be moving on to that Elite 8. So it will be really interesting to see what it looks like once the race is completed as opposed to how it looks like right now. But before we do that, before we find out the answer to all that, we still got to find out who's going to take the checkered flag at the end of this 22-lap event. It's an all-Ford Mustang front row. The pole sitter is Dylan Young. Now, don't ask me why. It is a right-hand first corner, but apparently the pole sitter lines up on the left lane, and then the outside pole sitter lines up on the right-hand lane. So I don't know if it's because you get a little bit better of a turn into turn 1 when you're on that top side or not, but it is rather, I don't know, interesting how they've got them lined up here for the grid. But Dylan Young, Levi McIntyre, both looking for their first win of the season as well. Dylan Young was a 3-time winner last year, was a playoff contender. Not the case this year for that Young Motorsports team. And then Shadow Cult Racing looking for their first win as a team overall. Levi McIntyre looking for his first victory of the season. I believe a 2-time winner in the last 2 seasons, or a 3-time winner in the last 3 seasons. I'm not exactly sure which one of those it is, but obviously good starting track position for those 2 drivers to begin off today's race, and I have a feeling this is going to be a race all about track position. But before we give you your starting lineup and get these engines fired up, let's go down trackside for pre-race ceremonies and the singing of today's national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Drivers, start your engines!
Command given. 29-car field will roll off the front straightaway behind the pace car. Will take him a little bit of time to complete this pace lap. Plenty of time to be able to give you your starting lineup for today's race. Dylan Young, the pole sitter. Levi McIntyre will be alongside of him in second. Highest starting playoff driver, playoff team here today will be the 19 team, Carson Gum. He'll be in third on the grid. Cody Lamas rolling off fourth. Carter Friesen in fifth position, looking to put that 6-car in victory lane in back-to-back weeks off the heels of Thibodeau's victory last week at Richmond. Austin LaPlante will line up on the outside of row 3. James Qualls in 7th. Matt Haas, 1 point behind the cut line coming into this race. He's going to roll off 8th. Jack Mitchell in 9th, and Amanda Evans is going to complete the top 10. Benny Watson, He'll be in 11th alongside of Daniel Sill at 12th. Row 7 is where we're going to find Michael Wayne Robinson, playoff contending team, the 93 car, and the 27 of Joshua Osborne. Keith Batson will be 15th in row 8 alongside of Pedro Lucas. Row 9 finds Ryan Butcher, former winner this season, playoff contending 78 team. They'll be alongside of Andrew Lemke in the 12. Charles Sanford, he's in row 10 alongside the cutoff line driver, cutoff line team if you will, the 47 Jesse Turner. Cole Baker and Trey Wright, they're going to make up row 11. Row 12 finds playoff contending teams, the 77 of Patrick Smith and the 95 of Cody Smart. Tim Walsh will make up row 13 alongside of Phil Parker. Dylan Poteet, he's in row 14 alongside of playoff contender Nick Gunther, the 55 car, and then Kyle Matthews, playoff contending team, the 09 of S3 Motorsports, brings up the rear of the field. So there's quite a number of playoff contending teams that are starting this race outside of the top 20. You got the 47 back in 20th, 77, 95, 55, and 09, all back there. Going to be in traffic, and we'll see if during the course of this race they can work their way up to the front. Being a road course race, very unlikely that we will see a full course yellow. It is possible, but it is unlikely. A lot of runoff here, a lot of sand traps, and so any driver that runs into an incident will more than likely be off the racing surface. And we will more than likely also see green flag pit stops come into play. Don't know what the fuel window is, but they're going to be going about 85 miles here today, based off the number of laps and the distance it takes to make a circuit around Road America. So fuel strategy, pit strategy could certainly come into play in this one. 10 drivers, 10 teams in the playoffs, but much like we talked about last week, there's still another 19 drivers each week that are trying to pick up a victory before the end of the season. Not in contention for the championship, not that much to lose. Saw Thibodeau do it last week. Got some contenders up here at the front that could do it this week, and Young, McIntyre, Lamas, Friesen. Seen a lot of former road course winners up here towards the front as well. Carter Friesen has a win at Lime Rock. Amanda Evans has a non-charter win back at Indianapolis Road Course. So we'll see if the road course prowess will come to light for those particular drivers. It is the first of 2 road course stops that we're going to have here during the playoffs. The other one will be the aforementioned Lime Rock, which is going to be in the next upcoming round, round number 2. Well, you want to know about treacherous corners? They're coming down to maybe the most treacherous of them all. Turn 12, better known as Canada Corner. One of the heaviest braking zones here today. Very tight right-hander. And there you can see lots of sand trap runoff, and you get out there into that gravel, and it's going to take you a long time to get back out of it. A lot of times you can't even scrub off enough speed if you overshoot that corner, that you go through all that gravel and into the tire barriers waiting for you a little bit further out. We'll be taking a ride around this racetrack, showing you what it's like to make a circuit at Road America during the course of this one. These drivers are going to have to do it for 22 laps. Dylan Young, Levi McIntyre are going to bring us up the elevated front straightaway. Up to the flag stand as the pace car makes the right-hand turn onto pit road. We are ready to go racing here for the very first time in the Duracell Cup Series in Wisconsin. Road America. Flagman has the green flag in hand as they head up towards that restart zone. Race number 2 of the Season 5 Duracell Cup Series playoffs is green. Let's roll at Road America. Already look at 3 wide. Joshua Osborne, gutsy move there. They're all going to make it through turn 1. McIntyre's going to take the lead from Dylan Young, who may have overshot right there. That's going to cost him another spot. Cody Lamas going to slip on by. Well, I mentioned about I wasn't certain why the pole sitter would start on the outside of a right-hand first corner, and you see what the end result was right there. 3 wide down here into turn 5. Oh, we got a spinner! Michael Wayne Robinson in the 93, I believe that was. And I just saw another car sideways back there. I believe that was the 8 of Matt Haas. Oh my gosh, the 74 was up and... What was he caught in? Caution's out. Oh, Nick Gunther's collected up. That's a playoff contender. Dust kicked up there. The 77 appears to have gotten some damage. Patrick Smith, as a lot of these drivers run wide there through that corner. A couple running wide here through the carousel. You don't want to get 2 tires off the racing surface because that's going to happen right there. Matt Haas in the 8. He will bring it back safely onto the straight going into Kettle Bottoms. Yellow flag is out, by the way. In case I didn't mention that, I did see that the caution was waving. Anti-Canada corner. Levi McIntyre will lead them through there. Boy, a lot happened there on the first lap of this race. We're going to have a lot of replays to have to look at here as well. As Levi McIntyre and that Andy's Fries Ford Mustang going to bring us up the hill to our first caution of the day. Didn't take long at all. Cody Lamas will be second. Dylan Young third. Drag race for fourth between LaPlante and Gum, but I think LaPlante's going to get it, and indeed he will. As the yellow flag out for the first time today. Lap 1. Oh, man, that 55 team may be in a must-win situation going into next week. All crunched up. Started all the way back in 28th. Did not have good starting track position. And usually at a road course, if trouble breaks out, there's not a whole lot of venues to be able to go to avoid. It's a shame that Gunther, a very good road course racer, would have been nice to see what he was able to do today. There's Phil Parker, who we saw suspended. I don't know if he went up into that catwalk there, just across the straight from turn 5 to turn 6. I know the 77 got some damage. There he is, Patrick Smith, on the left side of his E3 Spark Plugs Toyota. Tim Walsh appeared to have a little bit of damage there on the driver's side door also. And Michael Wayne Robinson, we saw him slide off course going into that heavy braking zone turn 5, but I think he was able to continue on as that day is done for the 55 and Nick Gunther. That team did not have a good performance last week with Mike Tellier, and not a good performance this week, obviously, right out of the gate for Nick Gunther, so it will fall to Anthony McCrory next week to try and more than likely win their way into the next round. They, of course, could still have an opportunity today if they are able to have the 47 and the 8 teams run into problems. And did I just see like a stack up there at turn 5? 32's got a little bit of damage there. Benny Watson, I don't know if they all just kind of stacked up going into that corner or not under pacing. All right, so let's see if we can get some replays here of what went down on the first lap of this race. We're going to kick things off first with the first car that I saw get out of shape, and that would have been the 93 of Michael Wayne Robinson. Everybody, for the most part, have been able to keep it clean down to turn 5, but then this was turn 5 here. Might have been a shot from behind, courtesy of the 12 of Andrew Lemke. Yeah, right there. Got him in the right rear. That just completely messed up his entrance into the corner. Now, this is the incredible thing. Car's going to snap around into the sand pit. He does lose a lot of positions, but at the same time, fortunately, that car was slowed up enough that it didn't slide further and into the tires. And then, oh gosh, there you see top of your screen what happened to Phil Parker. He went barrel rolling. Oh my goodness. And that car did get suspended up there into the bridge, I do believe, going across the straight before you get up to turn 6. Let's look again. My gracious. Now, how does this even start? Like, who makes the initial contact is the question. See if we can get a better camera angle here. We're going to go back to the entrance of turn 5. It is 3 wide. Phil Parker going to shoot up the middle with Cole Baker, and looks like he's trying to get to the inside of Charles Sanford as well. So now he's on the inside of a 3 wide. Sanford is going to push left into Phil Parker. Parker snaps into the grass, comes back into Patrick Smith, who had made contact with Cody Smart, and then up and over on the nose of Nick Gunther. Oh my gosh, Gunther just hit the point of that concrete barrier. And there you see, up and into that bridge area there, suspended up near those power lines for Phil Parker. Did you see where Gunther hit as well? There's like almost a 45-degree point there with the concrete barrier. And that's what Nick hit. Well, what was that like at speed? Let's see if we can go on board with that 55. Gracious. There's no give in that concrete barrier, that's for sure. Can't see Phil Parker back there suspended up in the air. Take one more on board. Let's go on board with the 93 of Michael Wayne Robinson. You'll hear the shot from behind. If you look up ahead, you can see Phil Parker in that barrel roll. Just kind of launched off the nose of Nick Gunther, and then the grass caught his 74, sending him into that barrel roll. Now the next thing that happened, though it didn't bring out a caution, was the 8 of Matt Haas. All we talk about the 55 team needing the 8 and the 47 to run into problems, keep that cut line close. Well, Matt Haas nearly had that happen here, going through the carousel. You cannot get your left side tires off into the grass, because sometimes this is going to happen. And watch how far out he goes. I don't think he hits anything, which is amazing. And he brings it back onto the racing surface. So well done there to Matt Haas. That is almost your day over right there if you venture out just a little too far. So we should have gotten the 1 to green, which it looks like we did. And I believe we had ourselves a round of pit stops also. Under caution, Cody Lamas won the battle off of pit road. So he'll be the one to bring us back to green. We're waiting for scoring to update because scoring is incorrect. Scoring is based off of how they cross the start-finish line, which is midway down pit road. Cody Lamas is the leader. Second place will be Dylan Young. Carter Friesen in third. And then just visibly, it looks like Jack Mitchell and Keith Batson going to complete the top 5. Matt Haas is going to be in 6th. 7th place, Pedro Lucas. Then Andrew Lemke, Trey Wright, and Jesse Turner. That's the top 10. Levi McIntyre, who was the leader the first 2 laps of this race. Team rather slow there on their stop, and he came off pit road P11. It's Cody Lamas with the lights out atop the pace car is going to be the one that will lead us back to green. The 2 drivers that got the biggest hits there out of that incident, obviously out of the race. Nick Gunther will get credit for 28th. Phil Parker, who did not make it back to his pit stall, he will be credited with 29th place here today. Single file restart will be interesting to see if these drivers will be able to settle into a long green flag run. Also be interesting to see with them all coming down pit road at the completion of lap 2 onto lap 3. Just how does that play into how far they can go now before maybe having to come to pit road again? Can they split what will be the final 19 laps of this race in half? You'd be looking at roughly, what, 8.5 laps? No, 9.5 laps. 9.5 laps that you'd have to make on a tank of fuel if you're going to split this thing in half. Don't know how important tires are going to be here today. Clear conditions, 92 degrees though, so it's not exactly a cool one, and with these heavy braking zones, tire heat is certainly going to build up. The atmospheric temperature not going to help that. It's going to exacerbate that. So far, Canada Corner has not claimed any victims, but still early on in this one as well. The two toughest corners, in my opinion, here at Canada Corner turn 12, but that turn 5 where we saw a lot of the replay at, the spin of Robinson, the contact there that takes Gunther and Parker out of this race. That, to me, is one of the toughest places. You've got that long straight, I believe it's the Moraine Straight, leading down to there. They give you the placard cards that you see right there, the 4, 3, 2, 1 for your braking zones, but a lot of drivers have different ways of how they approach entering into that corner. A lot of them will shift down to first gear, try and get that launch on corner exit up the hill to turn 6. Others, though, like me, like to go down to just second gear, have that stability when you get back to the throttle, because there can be some wheel spin if you're down in first gear, especially if some of that gravel, that runoff gravel, has somehow made its way onto the racetrack. But Cody Lamas, new race leader, going to bring us down. When they cross the stripe, you'll see what the official top 10 looks like, as they had not crossed the line yet. And looks like, well, our hope for single file, that's out the window. We're looking double, maybe even 3 wide, a couple of rows into turn 1. Dylan Young has not led a lap yet, even though he started on the pole, and he wants to make sure he leads one. He jumps to the inside of Cody, going into the sweeping right-hander, and now into 2 and 3. And he'll take the lead, will Dylan Young. So Dylan Young lost a couple spots on the initial start of this race from P1, and just gained them back. 3 wide, looking here down the Moraine sweep, headed for turn 5. That's Mitchell, Keith Batson, and Carter Friesen. Who's going to back out of this? Who's going to be the smart one? I think it was Mitchell. Ooh, Baker a little wide off that corner. Kyle Matthews caught the gravel a bit, but they're all, it looks like, going to make it up through here safely. Oh, Matt Haas off in turn 6. Keeps it going. Look at the dust getting kicked up here. These guys off-roading, trying to get every bit they can. Daniel Silla working on Trey Wright. A lot of overdriving off of this corner here. Oh my goodness. It's turn 9, I believe. Got to be careful through the carousel here. Don't want to run off. A couple of drivers getting their left sides into the grass. As Cody Lamas and Dylan Young here through Kettle Bottoms. They're going double wide into Canada Corner in the battle for the race lead. Let's see. Cody's not giving in. Dylan's not giving in. They're going to be side by side through here. Cody with the shorter way around, got back to the throttle really nicely, and he'll go back to the point. So P1 for the 1, P2 for the 2. And then Keith Batson right now holds down the 3rd position. Good battle here, 3-way battle. This is for, I believe, 5th. Carter Friesen, Pedro Lucas, Jesse Turner. Jesse Turner trying to help his team get away from that cut line as caution waves again. This must have been something in the second half of the course, because I didn't see anything caution-worthy in the first half. And it's Ryan Butcher in the 78. The Gatorade Toyota Camry all crunched up. Ryan Butcher, a former road course winner in his own right, back when he drove the 24 for Northeast Motorsports, had a victory at Pensacola road course. That's a lot of damage there on that machine, and that puts under the caution for the 2nd time today. So we had have yet to complete an entire lap under green flag conditions. Let's go back and see what happened. If I had to wager a guess, I'm wondering if this might have been in the carousel. No, this was not the carousel. This was Canada Corner. Canada Corner claiming its first victim today. But maybe not in the way that one would normally expect. It's his teammate Patrick Smith right behind him in the 77. Michael Wayne Robinson, the 93, to his left. And watch right here. 78 gets hooked by his teammate. Into the Suzuki sign, and then right there, oh, into the tires. That's not the first time we've seen those teammates get together. Was it Nashville? No, what was there was a short track we were at earlier on this season. And Patrick Smith was a slow car that was holding up Ryan Butcher. And the two of them made contact that took Ryan Butcher out of the race. A race that looked like he was more than likely going to win. And we were wondering about bad blood between those two particular drivers. But more contact between them here again today at Road America. That's very interesting. See if we can get another camera angle here. See if that was intentional contact or if that was just maybe wrong place, wrong time. But it is interesting that it ends up taking place between those two particular drivers yet again. And it was Nashville, the track that I was thinking of, where these two had made the earlier contact. I don't know if we're going to get ourselves a camera angle. They're all kind of pretty similar to each other. Maybe this will give us an idea. Yeah, he just was on his right rear quarter panel, never got off him. And Patrick Smith didn't get away with no damage either. Had already got damage to his left side and gets even more right there into the concrete barrier. Tim Walsh just going to sneak through. Tim Walsh was behind that, so let's see if Tim can give us an onboard that'll give us an idea of the contact. I don't know. He swung rather wide there into Canada Corner, so I don't know how much of a angle he's going to actually be able to provide us with, but let's see. Maybe lucky that he overdrove Canada Corner there a little bit. So caution out for the second time today. I believe that we did not have anybody come to pit road yet. And yeah, pits were open last time. So yeah, no takers on pit road. Gonna update something that just came through on scoring. Well, can't update it now because here they come. But we had 10 drivers stay out under the last caution. I believe all 10 of them are coming down pit road this time. So Levi McIntyre, the reason that he was back where he was in 11th place was because he was the first that came down pit road. Everybody else came down behind him. The top 10 stayed out. So that gives us an idea there of just exactly why Cody Lamas inherited the lead and why Levi McIntyre was so far back. Now with these 10 coming down pit road, it's going to turn the lead over to, I believe it'll be Daniel Silla, who was able to pass Levi McIntyre under that green flag run, under that lap. So Silla looking to make the 44 team a two-time winning team this season. Reggie Fogelman already has put that car in victory lane earlier on this season. A few weeks ago, about a month ago. McIntyre would be lined up in second, as you see the lights are already out on the pace car. We only get one lap of pacing for drivers to come down pit road. Lap cars and lead lap cars able to pit on that lap, and then the lights go out and we go back green the next lap, kind of similar to what we saw at Watkins Glen. Austin LaPlante third. Then it's Joshua Osborne in fourth, and fifth position will be, having to wait to see it visibly, and that's Carson Gum. The reason I'm having to see it visibly is, again, like I said, when these drivers come down pit road, the pacing and the pit road speed are very similar, and the start-finish line is midway down pit road. So even drivers that are coming to pit road can cross the line inside of the top 10 if they pit from the front, and we have to wait until they cross the line the next time to officially know who is restarting where. Cole Baker is going to be 6th on the restart, Charles Sanford 7th, James Qualls 8th, Dylan Poteet in 9th, and Amanda Evans is going to complete the top 10. So let's give a rundown of where your playoff contending teams are currently at. Well, we kind of really can't do that because of the scoring that's going on. So one thing with the road course races, but one thing we can tell you is that Cody Lamas has led 3 laps here today. Levi McIntyre has led 2, and when they come around to take the green flag, Daniel Silla will have led 1 of the 6 circuits completed so far. We have yet to complete an entire lap under green flag, but we are also not quite yet to the end of the first half of this race. Let's look ahead to next week, when these drivers will be turning the reins over to the secondary drivers. First elimination race of the playoffs. We're going to one of the most historic racetracks on the circuit, the home to the Yard of Bricks. And that is Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I believe after that we go to Hillside to kick off round 2 of the playoffs, and then we mentioned about Lime Rock being the other road course on the schedule in the playoffs, and we're going there for the midway race of round 2. So looking at the playoffs right now, the teams that we were highlighting of near the cut line, on the cut line, or below the cut line. The 8 car has already had an adventurous day. The 55 car is out of the race. 47 team was running up here towards the front before just coming to pit road. 09 team started in the back. I believe they are right now back around the... I think actually they might have come down pit road under that last caution as well, this last caution. And 31 team right now is doing pretty well. Dylan Poteet right now up inside of the top 10, going to restart in 9th. Ryan Butcher has been checked and released from the Infield Care Center. He is out of this race though. He joins Nick Gunther and Phil Parker back in the garage area. The 78 team mentioned the fact that they had 15 bonus points, 5 points per win heading into the playoffs. 2 courtesy of Diego Yepes, 1 courtesy of Ryan Butcher. They also had the 15 bonus points for winning the regular season championship. So they had 1,530 points when the playoffs began. Last week, poor performance, only accumulated 18 points. The bonus points really coming in handy for them though, because they're still second in the standings. But now with this DNF, and the points somewhat closer together, where is the 78 team going to be when we go to the elimination race of Indianapolis next week? 55 team with Nick Gunther out of the race, they're pretty much in a must-win situation now going into Indianapolis. And a lot can still happen between now and the checkered flag as we get ready here for our second restart of the day. It'll be rookie Daniel Silla who will lead us down here for the restart. Levi McIntyre in second, LaPlante, Osborne, and Gum the top 5. And again, as soon as the green flag drops, several drivers shoot to the right. 3 wide going into turn 1, Cole Baker. Carson Gum. That settles out to double wide as that did not work out for Baker. Well, maybe it did. Carson Gum swung wide. Still going to be side by side here for the 5th position. Osborne crosses to the inside of LaPlante for P3. LaPlante overdriving turn 3. Looks like Osborne might be clear on the 48. LaPlante might still have a fender to the left front, though. Heading down to the heavy braking zone, turn 5. They'll stay alongside. Up the hill to turn 6. Oh, we got a car off track back there. Hard into the wall. That was Andrew Lemke. He kept it going, though, so I don't know if that's necessarily a caution. The flagman around the track here will wave yellow flags indicating it's a full course yellow, and I did not see a full course yellow thrown right there. Now they're showing the indications that we are still green. Baker, LaPlante, Carson Gum. This is for 4th. Ooh, LaPlante, a little wide there. Keeps it going. Ooh, Qualls. With a bit of a moment there off the carousel. That brings Charles Sanford to driver's left, and he'll swing around for that position. Now down into Canada corner. Can they all make it through safely this time? Poteet and Qualls side by side through there. Poteet will take the spot. Will we get to complete a lap under green? No caution, even though Cody Smart's on pit road. So it looks like we will get our first green flag lap completed here. Daniel Silla going to bring us here for the completion of that 95 car there of Cody Smart, another playoff contender. That team actually came in the points leader for the playoff grid. And that car is all crunched up. Tim Walsh is now on pit road in the 15. And there's Lemke in the 12, who I know that he had his moment exiting turn 5, but he's been able to continue on. I don't know if Smart and Walsh, if they were involved in that turn 5 incident with him as well or not. Battle for 9th, Benny Watson trying to take it from James Qualls. Benny Watson, a winner at Lime Rock, a track we'll be going to in a few weeks, so another road course winner. Trying to get up there with his teammate Dylan Poteet in 31. Ooh, a little bit wide there onto the rumble strip on the exit of turn 6. Qualls gonna go a little wide in turn 7, and that's going to give the position now to the Hirsch Chevrolet. Closer towards the front, Joshua Osborne right now holding down the 3rd spot, but Cole Baker is closing in. Austin LaPlante right there as well, and then Carson Gum, the highest running of the playoff contenders, the defending champion, right now P6. You've only got 2 of the playoff contending teams up inside of the top 10. Poteet's the other one, trying to reel in Charles Sanford for what would be 7th place. Jesse Turner came in the cutoff line driver. He's just outside the top 10. This is a 3-way battle for, I think, 11th as Michael Wayne Robinson got all used up through Canada corner. He loses 3, 4, 5 positions now heading up towards the final corners. More drivers taking him double and 3 wide there. Oh, and now someone's off track back there. Is that Robinson again? That is, along with Trey Wright. They both bring it back onto the racing surface, but look how much momentum and speed they lost. They're going to drop all the way back to the tail end of this group, all the way back to the tail end of the drivers that are still running. Since we are still green, you guys are obviously already aware. You're seeing what has happened to drivers like Cody Smart, Tim Walsh, Andrew Lemke here under green flag conditions, courtesy of our side-by-side replay. Smart has returned back onto the racetrack, as has Tim Walsh. Cody Smart, I believe, is a lap down. Tim Walsh will update you on whether he was able to leave pit road still in the lead lap or not. As Sanford and Poteet nose to tail, bumper to bumper there through turn 5. Battle for 7th place going on right here between a couple of Chevrolets. Both drivers looking for their first win on the season here as well. 03 team yet to go to victory lane. The 31 team does have a victory with James Shelley. That was at another road course, Riverside. But Poteet himself does not have a win yet this season. Benny Watson right back there as well, along with the 17 of James Qualls. Joshua Osborne has been passed for 3rd and 4th. Cole Baker moving up into the podium. LaPlante up into the 4th spot. Osborne now drops back into the 5th position where Carson Gum is starting to reel him in. Levi McIntyre, though, right now in 2nd place, about a little more than a second off of race leader Daniel Silla. As they head into the final right-hander and up the hill, we're going to take a lap around Road America, courtesy of the 99 of Levi McIntyre. And Silla's on pit road. Daniel Silla's coming to pit lane, turning the race lead over to Levi. Watch the shifter there on the bottom right of your screen as he makes his way through these corners. Turn 1, you can carry a lot more speed than you expect. That runoff there on the left helps that. Slight right-hand turn for turn 2. Then into turn 3 and heading down the Moraine sweep. Little crook right here is considered turn 4. And then the heavy braking zone, turn 5. Let's see if he goes to 2nd gear or 1st gear. Down to 3rd, down to 2nd. No downshift to 1st. So he stays in 2nd gear heading up to turn 6. Turn 6 there, right there. That rumble strip can get you into trouble. Into turn 7. Down towards the heavy braking zone, turn 8. One of the tighter corners here. Not a lot of elevation change, not a lot of banking to lean into, and then into the carousel. Listen to the throttle. There's a certain point here where you'll hear him mash it down, right about here. Get the rear end tires to grip, get the car pointed. Lift a tiny bit. Oh, he downshifts there. Into 3rd gear, interesting. A lot of times drivers will stay in that high gear. See if he shifts back up to 4th before he gets down here to Canada Corner. No, he does not. Down to 2nd gear again, so not willing to go to 1st gear is Levi McIntyre. And then up through 13. And then the final turn, 14, before heading for home up the front straightaway. Ooh, a lot of coast right there, not a lot of throttle input, as now he's heading for pit road in the 99. So what does this mean with Daniel Silla coming to pit road last lap and McIntyre coming to pit road this lap? Means we're in for a pit strategy race. Benny Watson, the 32, coming down pit road this time also from what was, looks like the 3rd position. Actually, I believe it was 2nd place. So this right here, I think, is your battle for the new race lead. Cody Lamas, Jesse Turner, Dylan Young, the pole sitter as well. Oh, I don't like how Dylan Young was so close to the back bumper there. I thought he might hook the right rear of the 47. That would have probably taken all 3 of those drivers out. But look at this. Almost bump drafting. Tandem drafting here down the Moraine sweep into turn 5 for the Fords. And Dylan Young might get a 2 for the price of 1. He's already gotten by Cody. Can he get by Jesse Turner here into 6? Turner doesn't give him a lot of runoff there. Jack Mitchell's closing in on this battle also, so it could be a 4-way battle for the top spot as Dylan Young, Cody Lamas run off course. And Turner's going to clear them both, so he'll keep the race lead. Ooh, Dylan Young way wide there, almost hits the Le Mans rock. And now he gets taken 3 wide. Mitchell wide there through the carousel. Kyle Matthews there in the 09. Started this race from dead last. Great drive there for Kyle. Kyle, of course, pretty much locked the 0-9 into the playoffs back at Martinsville with his victory there. Stephen Paul with the third followed it up with a win in the regular season finale at Auto Club. That team comes into this race 12 points ahead of that 8th in the standings cut line, and doing a heck of a job right now is Kyle Matthews trying to secure that team a spot in the Elite 8. So Silla was in 2 laps ago. McIntyre in from the lead last lap. Does Turner come to pit road this time? No, he does not. Matt Haas crossing the line in 11th. Mentioned about the adventurous day he's had. That team 1 point behind the 47 for the final transfer spot into the next round of the playoffs. But with Turner out in front and, of course, also leading that lap, that's 5 bonus points. That's going to put Matt Haas in a bit of a predicament. Also, with both those drivers running up inside of the top 10, actually. It's 10th place that Matt Haas is at. That's bad news for the 55 team, with Nick Gunther out of the race. We pretty much thought with that DNF that there was going to be a must-win situation for that team, and it's certainly looking like that is the case, as this could turn into the battle for the lead once all those drivers up in the first back to 12th, I believe, eventually come to pit road. Daniel Silla, pretty good gap back to Levi McIntyre, and then another gap back here to Austin LaPlante, Cole Baker, Joshua Osborne. Now, right now, for the 48, 11, and 27, this is 15th, 16th, and 17th, but when everything cycles around, it could be a battle for the 3rd spot on track. All really depends on what the fuel window is and how far these guys can go. I'm wondering if maybe we saw a lot of these guys come to pit road the last 2 or 3 laps, expecting that they can now make it on just one more pit stop. And then what's the strategy for these guys? So we mentioned that Cody Smart is a lap down. Tim Walsh did get his service completed and returned to the track before he fell off the lead lap. So right now, we currently have 25 drivers on the lead lap of the 26 that are still out and running. Jesse Turner about to cross the line and lead his 2nd lap of the day. Cody Lamas behind him has led 3. Daniel Silla has led 3. Levi McIntyre has led 4. And those are the only drivers so far today that have led laps in this race. Cody Lamas appears to be reeling in the 47 last time by. 2-minute, 9-second, .635 for Jesse Turner. Cody Lamas ran a 6.98, so he was a tick slower the last lap, but it does look like, at least here in the first couple corners of this new lap, that he is closing up. Dylan Young right there as well. Oh yeah, Cody's definitely there. He's almost into the back bumper of that blue Ford logo on the back bumper. Well, it took us 2 early cautions to get to this point with the long green flag run. Hopefully this is going to be clean and green to the end, because I really would like to see how the pit strategy plays out. And I can guarantee you that by this point, lap 13, if we had run the Charlotte Roval, we probably would have been working our 3rd or 4th caution, because the big issue with that track that I was having was they couldn't make it through that back straightaway chicane without either overdriving it and hitting the exiting wall, or completely missing it overall. Completely missing the entry rumble strip. But Cody put a challenge on Turner. Turner was going to have none of it. And remember again what is at stake for the drivers up here towards the front, as now Turner's coming to pit road. A lot of them are. Is anybody staying out of this group? No, they're not, so that should turn the race lead over to Daniel Silla. But, again, as I was going to say, remember what's at stake for some of those guys that were up in that pack. You've got Jesse Turner, who's a cutoff line driver. You've got Kyle Matthews, who's just ahead of the cut line. But then you got Cody Lamas and Dylan Young, two drivers that are still looking for their first wins on the season. They've got nothing to lose. Matter of fact, Cody Lamas, the last time these primary drivers were on track, I'm trying to remember which track it was 3 weeks ago, but Cody was looking like he was one of the favorites to win that race. I'm trying to remember exactly where that was. Cody may feel that he's kind of owed one after that last time out. Well, again, next week, we're at Indianapolis. The secondary drivers will have the pressure on them to try and advance their respective teams into the playoffs. I mean, I don't know, the primary drivers obviously are the ones that got to race in the 500. They were the ones that the pressure was on to get the season started off. But I honestly think it's the secondary drivers that got the short end of the stick in terms of pressure, because not only did they have to finish things off in the regular season, with a couple of them in must-win situations to advance into the playoffs, but you're pretty much putting the pressure on them every single elimination race here of the playoffs as well. For the 8 teams that will advance next week, it'll be the secondary drivers again at the next elimination race, and then when they move on to the final 6, again it will be the secondary drivers in that elimination race to determine the final 4. So really interesting. Obviously, they would have had an opportunity to look at the schedule and everything when they put together the drivers list, but those secondary drivers, a lot is put on them. A lot is expected of them in terms of not only during the regular season, but also the postseason here as well. Levi McIntyre, that was quite a move from turn 13 here into the entrance of turn 14. He'll try and see if he can get the side draft there off the right rear quarter panel of Daniel Silla. And if he can, he will have the inside advantage going here into turn 1. He was slowly reeling Daniel Silla in, putting together some really good corners, a really good lap. And mission successful for Levi McIntyre. He should take this race lead by the time they come down here through 2 and 3. Daniel Silla got to make sure he doesn't overdrive this corner. When he gets past, he wants to remain in contact with Levi McIntyre in case he has thoughts of taking the race lead back himself. I'm not certain that McIntyre is clear yet. No, we're still side by side here down the Moraine sweep headed for turn 5. So how about this? Great battle for the race lead. But I think these drivers still have at least one more pit stop that they're going to have to make before the conclusion. Further back, Charles Sanford, Carson Gum, they're in a side-by-side battle much like this, but we're going to keep it here at the front because this is incredible. They've been able to keep it side by side for about 6-7 corners, and that little slip up right there by Silla is going to ice it and give the position to McIntyre. So Levi goes back to the point. Carson Gum gets around Charles Sanford for 5th. Dylan Poteet looking to take advantage there, and well, he'll almost stay to the inside. No, not quite. Is he going to clear him? Oh, looks like he's visibly clear. Sanford got to be careful not to run too wide here through the kink. Cole Baker looking to take advantage. Sanford will hold on to 7th. Baker continuing to put the pressure on him there, though. And just behind them, you've got Benny Watson, that 32. Good runs today for all 3 of the Pigeon Racing cars, the 19, the 31, and the 32. Both the Joanna Atwood Motorsports cars are having decent outings as well. Joshua Osborne right now in 4th, and James Qualls last time by was scored in 10th. That's where he still is. So both of those cars doing very well here today. So as McIntyre leads Daniel Sillo, we followed back when these guys were battling for, I think it was 12th or 13th, because we knew that when the top 10 came to pit road, that was going to be the battle for the top position once things cycled around. We're now going to drop back and try and find Jesse Turner, see where he is currently at, along with Cody Lamas and Dylan Young, because if indeed the guys up ahead have to come to pit road, this would then be the new battle for the race lead, and Turner currently holds a couple car lengths back to Cody Lamas and then another few car lengths back to Dylan Young. So it's basically right now 2 races that are going on. The big question mark, though, is who can make it on fuel. Now the 65 of Amanda Evans, I believe, is the last car of this group up here. 12th place on back is Turner and company. So you've got 12 drivers on one strategy. You've got another 16 drivers, I believe. No, correction, another 13 drivers on another strategy. And obviously the calculators have been worked. The 2 early cautions we had allowed to be able to kind of mix up the strategy. We've got a split decision of when drivers came to pit road, even when the green flag dropped there. And we haven't seen a caution since back on, what was the completion of lap 6 on to lap 7. So who has worked the calculator correctly, though, is the question, as up the hill into the start-finish line this time, it will be 6 laps to go. So we are getting down to the crucial time of this race. Who has got the fuel to make it? Poteet's on pit road in the 31. Cole Baker, James Qualls, Amanda Evans all coming in, so I would assume this is their final pit stop of the day. So if they're coming to pit road right now, we should see McIntyre, Silla, and company in probably the next lap. And that would be with 5 to go. How many laps extra did Turner and company stay out? I think they stayed out 3, maybe 4 laps further. So if that's the case, if somebody back there in that second group is able to save about a lap of fuel, they may not have to come to pit road at all. It is slightly possible. I say slightly. It's unlikely, but it is slightly possible. Because let's remember, too, this track is over 4 miles in length. It takes a long time to get around. I mean, these drivers right now, they're running about 207s, 208s. Most of them are actually running the 208s. And the qualifying lap times were 207s. So if it takes you 2 minutes, over 2 minutes to make a lap around here, just imagine how much fuel you are consuming in doing so. And when we took that on board with Levi McIntyre, you could hear there was, a lot of off-the-throttle time, but that was a lot of distance that was covered as well. So basically that off-the-throttle time gets canceled out by the amount of time it takes you to complete a lap here. There's a couple of teams I'm going to be pretty concerned about heading into next week. 3 teams in particular that came into this race, the top 3 teams in the playoff standings, the 95, the 78, and the 77. 78 team out of the race, Ryan Butcher in 27th as McIntyre, no surprise, he's on to pit road. Daniel Silla coming down as well. Probably everybody up to Turner will be coming down pit road this time. Then you got the 95 team of Cody Smart, who you saw was just up ahead of Levi McIntyre moments ago, a lap down, right now scored last car running in 26th. And then the 77 car of Patrick Smith, while he is on the lead lap, he has got damage, so he is off the pace. And last time by, he was scored in 22nd out of 29 drivers. So those top 3 teams coming into the playoffs here today, they could find themselves down around that cut line heading into next week. Cody Lamas trying to take the race lead away from Jesse Turner, not able to do so. Dylan Young now into 3rd, Kyle Matthews in 4th, and Carter Friesen in 5th. Can any of these drivers make it 5 more laps on what they've got in the tank. I don't think they can. But they could certainly come down pit road, maybe not take on tires, get just enough fuel to make it to the end, and maybe be able to win the battle off pit road before Levi McIntyre or Daniel Silla, depending on who between those two is going to be the first off of pit road. Maybe that could work out in their favor. I don't know. They wouldn't have to take on nearly as much fuel as all those other guys that just were on pit lane did. I don't know just how optimal the tires are here. That's the big question too. I mean, is it worth skating around for 2 or 3 laps on worn out Goodyears? Can you hold off fresh tires behind you? You can see right there, race leader Jesse Turner was a little wide through the carousel. Had his left sides off into the grass. Well, if Jesse Turner is able to close it out here today with the victory, then the 47 teams going into Indianapolis worry-free. Let's not forget, last week, none of the playoff drivers won. So nobody got a locked-in spot into the round of 8. Right now, Jesse Turner has that opportunity. Same for Kyle Matthews back there in the 09. Michael Wayne Robinson's coming to pit road this time in the 93, so this is his final stop of the day. Nice comeback run there for him. Saw him go off the course there in turn 5. A caution came out and saved him. He remained on the lead lap, and he's been up inside of the top 15 ever since. Right now it's looking like 93, the 19, the 31. These are teams that very likely could be the new points leading team going into Indianapolis next week, as Cody Lamas completed the pass around Jesse Turner, and he will go back to the front. Carter Friesen to the inside of Dylan Young. That's for third. Turner looking back for the lead. Look at this wad of race cars, all 6 of them there. Double wide, 3 rows deep into the heavy braking zone turn 5. Oh, Turner, you saw him there try and take a wide arc to not go off course there. But he got his left sides off the racing surface. That's going to lose him ground to Cody. Almost lost second place to Dylan Young, but he was able to hold him off. And Mitchell. Boy, Mitchell's been having trouble with this carousel. Oh, Turner! Way wide! Can he bring it back safely onto the racing surface without hitting the wall? He does. But look at all the ground that he just lost as a result. He dropped all the way back to, looks like, around the 7th or 8th position. And maybe that's the answer of, is it worth not taking tires when you come down pit road? Probably not. So how long does Cody and company stay out? When they hit the stripe this next time by, it'll be 3 laps to go. Does Cody make the right-hand turn to pit lane? No, he does not. How about Pedro Lucas? 21 car. Great run here today for him. Last time by was scored in 7th. Should be 6th now after getting around Turner with his moment through the carousel. This is a great run for the No Limits Racing team. Still looking for their first win of the season. And Jack Mitchell. We're running up the list of drivers with road course victories. Mitchell, add him to that list. Won earlier on this season at the Daytona road course, which put the 101 team in the conversation for a playoff spot, but unfortunately, by the time the checkered flag waved in the regular season finale at Auto Club, they were on the outside of the cut line looking in. It doesn't seem like that's stopping Mitchell. Mitchell trying to get what would be, I believe, his first multi-win season. He's never won 2 races in a single year. Has a couple Floridians duking it out for the top spot right now. Then you've got the Canadian Carter Friesen in P3. All right, let's find the cycle again. Levi McIntyre, Daniel Silla. Oh, McIntyre's got a huge gap back to Daniel Silla. Silla is under fire from Austin LaPlante and Joshua Osborne, so this could eventually be your battle for second in the finishing results, but McIntyre, he is gone. And amazingly enough, Daniel Silla was faster the last lap than Levi was, but I don't know exactly what the gap is. See if scoring will tell me. It is 4.1 seconds from McIntyre back to Daniel Silla last time by. So if any of these guys up here can't make it on fuel, Levi McIntyre has got this race won. But it will be 2 to go this time. Does anyone have 8 miles of fuel in the tank? If you're going to pit, I'd say pit now. Don't pit with 1 to go. And they're all staying out. Oh boy. Which means next time by, the white flag will wave. And will we see a mass migration onto pit road coming to the white, or will these guys risk it to stay out 1 extra lap? So is this the battle for the win right here? If it's not, Levi McIntyre will probably be winning this race. He is hoping that these guys do not have the fuel capacity to make it around 1 more time after this. He's hoping this is the last possible lap they could stretch it to. 2 early cautions, a wild flip from turn 5 up the hill to turn 6. A lot of playoff contenders with some finishes that are not going to help them heading into next week. Look at the beating and banging, the bumping going on there. Dylan Young into the back of Lamas, Friesen to the back of Young. Stacked him up there. Now Kyle Matthews trying to get around Carter Friesen. That'd be for third. Ooh, he got to the throttle nicely there on driver's right, and he might have the advantage through this corner on Friesen. Friesen didn't overdrive it, didn't go off course, but I think Matthews has got the spot, and he does. So Kyle up to third. Ooh, Mitchell way wide through that corner. Had to back off the throttle to avoid hitting the tire barriers, but how about the 09 maybe trying to win his way into the next round of the playoffs if the top 2 have something happen here? To be honest, I think if I'm Kyle Matthews and if I'm close on fuel, I'm going for it. Why not? A lot of the playoff drivers have run into issues here today. Yeah, you might go into next week in a must-win situation, but the risk may be less than the reward. Who knows? This time by, it will be the white flag. Top 2, Cody Lamas, Dylan Young. Does anyone dive for pit road? They're going to stay out. They're going to try and make it 1 more time around. So Dylan Young, who started on the pole, has not led a single lap today, is the hunter. Cody Lamas, who 3 weeks ago looked like he was going to pick up the victory, but came up just short, looking for some redemption today. He is the hunted. And if these 2 make any contact, Kyle Matthews and Carter Friesen, who are in a good battle for third, they might be able to close in. This is not what Levi McIntyre was hoping for. He was hoping that everybody that was ahead of him were going to have to dive onto pit lane, but they're going to risk it for the biscuit. It's only a couple of places Dylan Young can really take advantage to try and make a move. This is one of them, and I don't think he's close enough to Cody. Going into turn 5, he's going to get close. He's going to try and bump him out of the way. Oh, he tried to. He tried to swing to the left, to that left rear quarter panel. Couldn't do it. Keeping the pressure on him, trying to see if Cody will make a mistake. Remember, for both these drivers, they are not playoff contenders. They're both looking for their first win on the season, though. So not a whole heck of a lot to lose, everything to gain for both drivers. Cody, shallower through that entry of the corner. Dylan Young a little wider, and it might have cost him on exit. Now through the carousel, can Dylan Young make up any ground? Kyle Matthews closing in third. Carter Friesen there as well. Heading down towards the kink and into Kettle Bottoms. This will be the last big run that Dylan Young might be able to get, unless he can get some kind of a run off the final turn up the uphill straight towards the start-finish line. How deep does Dylan Young drive it here on Cody Lamas? Drove it deep. Can he get back to the throttle and stay in touch? I think the gap might be too much. We'll see here. One last shot here through turn 14 for Dylan Young. Cody Lamas trying to keep him at bay, stifle any momentum, and I think he's got it. Dylan Young almost equal with Cody off of the final turn. Up the hill, Cody Lamas' first win of the season is going to take place in the debut race at Road America. Checkered flag waves. We're waiting for everybody to cross the start-finish line as there's a lot of them that are quite a ways back. It's like we had 3 of our playoff contending teams finish up inside. No correction, 4 of our playoff contending teams finish up inside of the top 10. One of those was Patrick Smith in the 77. Great comeback run for that team after the day they've had. The other ones were Kyle Matthews in 3rd, Matt Haas in 7th, and Jesse Turner in 8th place. I believe we got one more driver here after Walsh before the standings are officially complete. That'd be the 12 of Andrew Lemke, who is just now making his way around. But Cody Lamas, Michael Norman Motorsports getting their first win of the season, and Cody Lamas getting his first win of Season 5 as well. That team was the most consistent team that didn't have a victory this year. They are 11th in the point standings, highest outside of the playoff grid. Consistent runs week after week by Lamas, Trent Dunham, Michael Norman, but they just couldn't find victory lane. It comes up 2 weeks too short of battling for a championship, but it's got to be a good feeling knowing that they've been so close so many times. The deal has finally been closed out. They finally got that one car in victory lane. Cody was tied with leading the most laps here today as well. 7 for him, 7 for Levi McIntyre, and I think Cody's out of fuel. So he would have been able to make it maybe another 2/3 of a lap before that thing would have run out. And it looks like Pedro Lucas is out as well. You can see the ignition pipes, the flames coming out from underneath them, and I believe that is an indication that that's fumes. Carter Friesen's out of fuel. So these guys, they could just barely make it that last lap. Any further than that, if we had had 23 laps in this race, they would have had to dive to pit road or would have run out of fuel trying. Well, is Cody going to even be able to make it back to victory lane? Don't think he is. There's Levi McIntyre going by. What could have been for him? He's going to finish 12th place, it looks like. And let's take a look at our finishing results. So Cody Lamas with the win. Dylan Young brings it home in 2nd after starting on the pole and didn't lead a single lap here today. Kyle Matthews, that's a great run there for that 09 team. They're going to be in pretty good position going into next week. They'll be quite a ways ahead of the cut line. Carter Friesen, solid outing there in 4th. And then Pedro Lucas, great run there for the 21 cars. He's going to finish in 5th place. I'm not really sure what's going on there between 13 and 14. Got a little dance party going on. Jack Mitchell going to bring it home with a solid outing of 6th. Matt Haas in 7th. Jesse Turner probably going to be kicking himself for that mistake he had over there in, turn 8, as it cost him a number of spots. He'll still get P8, but he was running at the time around the 3rd, 4th position, so it cost him a couple of points there. Trey Wright going to finish in 9th and 10th for Patrick Smith. So those 4 teams, those 4 playoff teams up inside the top 10, they're going to get some very good points, and it's really going to help them out heading into next week because a lot of the other playoff contending teams did not finish nearly as well. Dylan Pote was back in 17th, Carson Gum back in 20th, Michael Wayne Robinson in 22nd, and then the big ones down here at the bottom. Cody Smart was the only car a lap down, finishing in 26th. Ryan Butcher and Nick Gunther out of the race for those playoff contenders, and Phil Parker taking maybe one of the wildest rides we've seen at a road course in recent memory. Going to be finishing in 29th position. A couple other teams that were very quiet today, drivers that were very quiet today with solid outings. Keith Batson there in 11th place. Daniel Silla, who led a few laps, going to bring it home in 13th. And then Joshua Osborne, James Qualls, we know those two were running up inside the top 10, but they had to pit in the closing stages, but they'll get 15th and 16th. LaPlante, good run there as well for the 48 car in the 14th position. So some teams that really needed some good runs today with the momentum they've had coming into this race, getting them. And it's definitely going to have our playoffs shake up for sure. Looks like right now, the 77 team might very well, with Patrick Smith's top 10, might very well be the points leading team heading into next week. I believe the 09 might be pretty close behind, maybe the 47 there as well as the 93, but that's just based off of my rough calculations. We're going to wait and see what exactly official scoring says. And as a matter of fact, I believe that I am hearing that they do have the official playoff standings heading into next week already calculated. So here they are. And as assumed, you see the gap from the 55 to 8th in the standings. No doubt they are going to be in a must-win situation heading into next week. I don't think anybody else at this point in time is in a must-win situation, but it is really, really close. So, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, next venue here for the Duracell Cup Series drivers. That will be taking place next Saturday. And it is the first elimination race where we whittle it down from 10 teams to 8 teams. And with Cody Lamas's win here today, still no team is officially locked into that round of 8. Non-playoff contending teams have won the first 2 playoff races of the playoffs. So very interesting in that regard. Going to make it even more comprehensive as far as points and everything heading into the Brickyard next week, and we hope you guys will join us for that. Thank you for joining us for today's race from Road America. Obviously, those 2 early yellows were a little bit annoying, but it is a road course. It is the first time these drivers have taken to it in Duracell Cup Series competition. Overall, I think that Road America did a very good job in its debut race. I think we will be coming back here more than likely next season. But if you guys enjoyed this race, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to part of the crew today. We showed you your full feature results. We also showed you your playoff points, and then we will see you next week at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.